host of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 100 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 26 of A Clash of Kings, that's Arya 6.
Did you say 100?
I did.
100 episodes?
That's why we're doing it this way.
Well, in a second we'll explain about that, but what we're going to do, like what we always try to do, is chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully we're going to provide you some entertainment along the way, although this time the entertainment might not be what we normally try to provide.
Yes. You will discover that all these things that you think we've got memorized, we just read. We'll summarize what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the TV show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll help you in particular if you're not reading along. All right, so we're doing this live. I mean, not live, I guess, but uneditable. So yes. Any mistakes are staying in there. So
we've got our notes down here. So if you see us looking down, that's where our notes are. So we're going to be doing that a lot.
And honestly, I'm used to talking to the mic, not to the camera. So even when I'm not looking at my notes, I'm going to forget to look up there. So
hopefully this is interesting for you all. It's certainly going to be interesting for us.
Painful. But it is exciting to be doing episode 100, that's for sure. It
is 100
well,
episodes.
Somehow you've managed to leech out a bunch of notes for this chapter, even though this chapter is pitifully small.
I have a tendency to do that.
You do. Verbosity is your keyword.
So if you hear us going like this, let's just skip that.
Skip that bit.
That's because I write down every thought I have in my head, I write down on the sheet. So.
That's the bit that usually gets edited out, but you'll hear it this time. All right, let's get down to business. How did we leave Arya? Last we saw of Arya, she was leading Hot Pie in a daring attempt to rescue Gendry from the clutches of the evil Gregor Clegane. Hot Pie was utterly useless and got them both caught. Under questioning, let's be honest, Hot Pie revealed the whereabouts of the injured Lommy and no longer tearful Weasel. Rather than carry Lommy, the Lannister men ran him through. Weasel, on the other hand, fled before they got there, so she's in the wind. All right, why don't we give them the summary of this one?
Okay, this should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie, and a host of Riverrun villagers are being held by Gregor Clegane and his men. The scene is not so great. Daily, individuals are called upon to answer questions about the whereabouts of any hidden treasure, the disposition of Beric Dondarrion's forces, who aided him, which direction did he go, and when did he leave. Nobody has anything useful to offer, so the questioning always ends with the questionee meeting their maker.
Various people try tactics to stay alive. One guy talks of his son fighting for Joffrey. He gets killed. One woman gives herself to the soldiers. She gets killed. One woman offers all the intel she has to protect her daughter. And that didn't work either. Nope. The misery is pretty much complete.
Yeah. Eventually, the remaining prisoners are marched north to Harrenhal. The young men are all killed. Only the women, the old, and the young are taken. And Gendry only survives because they need blacksmiths. Arya's gender is also revealed for all to see. In the dark storehouse, she could make water in private, but on the road, the gig is up. Hot Pie is astonished. Nobody else even notices.
She's lost all self-belief, and Needle too. As a prayer or a self-affirmation, she's taken to listing the people, quietly, she got a bloody lip for speaking earlier, who have been responsible for killing people that she cares about. So Raff the Sweetling killed Lommy, Armory Lorch killed Yoren, Meryn Trant killed Syrio Forel, the Hound killed Micah the Butcher's Boy, and Ilyn Payne, Joffrey, and Cersei are responsible for her father, Desmond, Fat Tom, and even Lady's death. Right. So they've got a whole pile of heads. She throws in the Tickler too. He's the interrogator and torturer of the villagers. She doesn't indicate what she'd like to do with this list, but she's not making them it's not her Christmas card list, that's for sure.
That does seem like a safe assumption.
Yes.
The villagers have to keep pace with the mounted men. Failure to do so is death. They complain of their lot when Gregor Clegane tells them to obey, serve, and live. They were already doing that. The villagers who did meet Dondarrion said that he took supplies from them, but at least he was nice about it. And he left them some IOUs, which is possibly helpful.
Better than nothing.
Yes, right. Some point out that the piece of paper, you can't eat that.
No, you could. It would lose lots of its value.
Yes. One man says that the old king wouldn't have stood for this, but Arya is wrong when she thinks he means Robert. The villager longs for the days of Aerys Targaryen.
Upon arrival at Harrenhal, the prisoners are roughly bathed and then assigned work. Arya says that her name is Weasel, the first name that comes to her. She was destined for the kitchens, but she asks for the stables instead, hoping to ride out of there. After a strong smack in the mouth, the women deciding her assignment, changed the plan and sent her to a man named Wheeze. So she's called herself Weasel, and she's working for a guy called Wheeze. Wheeze is a heavyset guy who loves his middle management position and demands perfection from his staff. He has a carbuncle on his nose and claims that he can smell defiance and stubbornness, but all he wants to smell is fear.
Do you think his official title is assistant to the regional manager?
Possibly, yes, possibly, yes. So, the 100th episode, we're in Harrenhal.
Yes,
we're perfect.
We're home. Yeah. We're finally home. It's fitting after 100 episodes. So this episode ties Arya back up with Tyrion at 6 so far in POV chapters in this book, and they've now doubled the second, the third and fourth place, which are Jon and Bran both still have 3.
Has there been anyone else? Oh, there's been Cat, hasn't there?
There's been Cat, Theon has got 2.
And Daenerys and Gus, yeah.
And Davos has 1.
Sansa.
Oh, yeah, Sansa has 2.
She has 2, yeah.
Maybe, I think
she
2.
might be in that 3-way tie for third.
Basically, you get an opposite perspective of the war from Tyrion and Arya. The book's called Clash of Kings, so you see the war from the high level of the hand of the king, him, and not just him, but Tyrion is involved with all the high-level decisions being made, and then you've got Arya, who's in the mix of the realities of the war-torn Riverlands that are the effect of all these decisions being made by the highborn, by the kings.
It's a tough read, this chapter, because nothing really happens. There's not a lot of sort of narrative involvement. It's just torture and misery, and it's kind of unpleasant, and particularly awful for Arya. She had been riding slightly high on the belief that she was a water dancer, and the training had given her an edge over what she refers to as the sheep, meaning the other people who've been captured. But she realizes that she's absolutely no better than them. She's witnessing atrocities on a daily basis, and she's, again, always forget their ages, but I'm going to say 10.
Yes, I think
10.
She's
10-year-old child cannot come out of this unscathed,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She's seen some awful things. Not even just on this trip. She's seen the death of... she's seen her brother pushed... she's seen her brother fall from a tower.
She didn't see him fall.
Right.
She saw the after effects.
She knows that her brother has fallen from a tower. Yes. She's seen her friend Micah be killed in cold blood. Lady died for no reason. She was there during the sack of the Tower of the Hand when the Lannisters took out Ned. We've also seen just some generally terrible things in this book, like what the Dothraki did to the Lazarene, just because they were on the wrong side of the river. But this is new level stuff. We haven't seen this level of torture.
I did think when I saw the word Lazarene in the notes that you were going to be completely wrong. I was going to say no. I'm pretty sure Arya did not see any of that.
She hasn't made it to
talking about. But it is, and it's particularly pointless, the torture, because they're not getting anything useful from these people.
Nothing.
Yeah, sure. Some of them have met Beric Dondarrion, who came in, took some supplies, and left again. Doesn't mean they were aiding him. They're no more aiding him than they're aiding Gregor Clegane when he takes supplies from them.
Yes. But, to make matters worse, this chapter, which is probably the toughest chapter we've had so far from just the things that go on in it, is from the perspective of a child.
Yeah. So the actions of Tywin's men seem just designed to maximize the psychological damage that all this is going to cause. Those who try to ingratiate themselves are killed just as readily as those who don't. So the horrors are just random, unavoidable. There's nothing you can do.
No, there's no rules.
Yeah.
You cooperate, you die. Yeah. You're defiant, you die. Yeah. You willingly give up the info, you die. Your vocal allegiance. There was one guy whose son was a gold cloak, and they called him all for Joffrey because he was always saying, "I'm all for Joffrey, all for Joffrey." he died.
Yeah.
He was called upon and died. Some of the women have tried to use sex with the soldiers to put them in a better standing. Didn't help. They all got the same result.
Yeah. So the questions are about any hidden treasure that they might be able to find, which, you know, hey, there's a chance. I mean, if I saw an army coming, I'd go and dig a hole and put my treasure in it as well.
Yeah.
But, and then about Beric Dondarrion. But the problem is that these people are so scared, they're just saying anything they can to try and get out of the questioning. So you end up with conflicting answers which don't help you at all. So it's a complete waste of time.
It really
But
is.
I suppose they're keeping themselves occupied with torture and murder.
I guess. I mean, they're all the Mountain's not an idiot.
No,
he's got to be fairly smart. He knows that nothing that they're getting from these people is worth anything. So then you wonder, why is he doing it? And he's doing it in the way that he's doing it, not rewarding those who show any sort of allegiance to the Lannister cause, and punish, and not separating those who are helping versus those who are not. The only conclusion I can make is he just wants to create a feeling of helplessness, and just strip them down to nothing.
Yeah, I think
make them sheep.
Yeah, there's one other aspect to it, which is the people, the men that he surrounded himself in are probably of a similar disposition to him.
Seem to be.
And so he's actually giving them a reward. Part of their reward for being in his company is that they get to torture and murder people for the fun of it.
Ooh, he must have hand-selected these guys, I guess.
You know what? I think there's more of them than you hope. I think
Maybe.
You're a rose-tinted view of the world shining through there, I think.
Yeah, but the Mountain calls them traitors. He says, you're all traitors, and you should be thankful that you're being treated this well by Lord Tywin. You wouldn't be treated so well by the outlaws, referring to Beric Dondarrion. But of course, they're not traitors, like you said earlier. They haven't done anything wrong. They just happen to live in the Riverlands, which is where this war is seeing the most devastation.
And of course, he's completely wrong. They were treated much better by Beric Dondarrion. Yes. He did not murder them.
Yes, and everyone, he knows fully well, everyone else fully knows that these people don't have any stakes in the Game of Thrones, the Clash of Kings. They're just trying to get through their day.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
And this is going to come back to a piece of pedantry, which actually also ties in with a slight spoiler I'm going to give from the TV show.
Okay.
So you'll see.
All right.
So we're skipping over some of the specifics of what's going on. I mean, rape, torture, murder pretty well sums it up. We're sparing you the graphic details.
Yeah. Although the chapter didn't actually have graphic details. There was no description of like someone's fingernails being ripped out or teeth being pulled out or whatever it was that was being done. Ultimately, they kind of just left it up to the reader's imagination, and I don't know if that makes it better or worse. It makes it better if you're willing to just like not think about it.
Yeah,
but
they're just words on a page, Mackelly. It's all right.
Well, I was thinking about the Tickler versus Sir Gregor, and so take the Tickler. He's Arya describes him as like every man. He's so plain. She thought he was a villager until he started torturing.
When he isn't torturing, he's barely noticeable.
He's quiet, he's unassuming, but yet has a horrendous capacity for pain and suffering.
It's always the quiet ones.
Yeah, I guess so. And then we've got the Mountain, who's huge and intimidating, and we've seen him physically carry out terrible acts. I mean, what he did to his brother, permanently scarring his brother by pushing his face into the fire. We saw him kill Sir Hugh with the lance, and we know what he did to Elia Martell I guess Elia. I guess she's still Martell.
Well, we know who you mean.
Yes, Elia Martell
yeah.
and her children. But yet, he sits by and doesn't do anything. He doesn't get involved physically in any of the torture.
Yeah.
The Tickler handles all of that.
Yeah.
Just something I noticed.
So Arya sort of discounts the training she's had as a water dancer. She thinks she's not worthy of it. She thinks that she actually specifically thinks Syrio Forel wouldn't have been captured like this. But she's completely wrong.
Yeah.
He would have been. If he'd been tied up in this, he would have been caught, he would have been captured. And in actual fact, that's precisely what happened to him.
Right.
He did get caught up in this a little bit, and he was killed. To
Yes.
the best of our knowledge, he was killed. So
Yes.
the skills don't make you superhuman, Arya. They just improve your odds, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if he had been with them instead of Lamy, if it had been Syrio, he might have taken out a few along the way, but eventually they would have gotten him. And based on the demographics of who's alive and who's dead at this point, he would have been killed.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. So at the end of the last chapter, Arya lost Needle. It's now on the hip of a soldier whose name is Polliver. He's not the worst, so he is not on her roll call of whatever she's roll calling.
She does mention she hates him, though.
He's got her sword.
Right. Yeah, you remember that chapter. Oh, the dog's barking.
The dog barks. Yeah, we all heard that.
Hi, Penny. You remember the end of last chapter when they were trying to go, Hot Pie and Arya were trying to go free Gendry, who had been captured by these men and taken into the storehouse that now Arya had spent the last 8 days in. And of course, Hot Pie blew their cover. Arya went charging at the men and got knocked to the ground and punched, and then Needle was taken. It's a little bit confusing because she says that she tried to bite Chiswick. Is that how you would?
That's how I pronounce Chiswick. Yeah.
Yes, he was giving me the English version of the pronunciation. W is silent. She mentions in this chapter she tried to bite Chiswick, and in the description of that chapter, it says the man that took Needle from her is the one she tried to bite. But yet Polliver currently has the sword, so maybe
mystery as to how that sword moved to Polliver. Yeah.
Might have been dicing or something. I don't know. But it probably is for the best, because she even thinks this as well. She thinks it's probably for the best they took Needle from me, because if I had it, I would have tried to stab Gregor Clegane by now, and he would have cut me in half.
Right, yes.
And she also, when she gets slapped by Goodwife Hera, I think, she thinks she wouldn't do that if I had Needle. And she probably would have brandished Needle and end up getting herself killed
again.
Yeah, so it is probably best that she doesn't have Needle.
She may need to take a trip north of the wall if she's going to get killed this many times.
Yes.
So the Lannisters have taken everything from her. Her father, Yoren, her friends, Micah and Lamy, her home, or at least it's denied to her at the moment, her hope, her courage, and Needle too. So that list that she has is primarily filled with Lannisters and Lannister loyalists. Yes.
No doubt as to why that is. Yeah, she describes being left with like a feeling of nothingness. She said her house sigil is a direwolf, but she thinks of herself as more of a sheep right now. And then she physically doesn't even get to call herself by her true name. She's currently now calling herself Weasel. So, those things take a toll on you. Calling yourself something like Weasel and feeling like a sheep when you want to feel like a direwolf. So it's just one of the many things.
I'm going to say, though, ranking all of the indignities and miseries that she's suffering,
yes,
you're focusing on one of the smaller ones.
It's buried way down there. Yes. But as far as Needle goes, we know she mentioned in one of the chapters in this book that it might be one or two, she misses John the most.
Right.
And, of course, losing Needle is her last connection with John. So, again, small thing, but probably, it's something else. Just add it to the fire.
You're not wrong. I wasn't saying you were wrong. Just,
So one thing I was thinking about was, so she mentions they even took my secret, which is the fact that she's a girl. And because she couldn't hide having to squat to pee, basically. And, we had talked last chapter that, that's not the big deal secret. That people find out she's a girl, Okay, so what? No one ever said she had to be a boy.
Right.
Only Hot Pie was shocked by this. But then, her saying that got me thinking about her bigger secret, which is that she is Arya Stark of Winterfell. And I was wondering...
We have to remind the listeners of that, because they know.
Yes.
For them, it's like not a secret, it's just common knowledge. But yes, in the book, it's a big secret.
So the question is there an advantage at this point to announcing who she is? Because it's based on the description we've gotten of life in that storehouse for 8 days. It is just random luck that she wasn't killed. And the Lannisters have the person they're looking for. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
So
I saw this in the notes and I started thinking about it a little bit, and what I came to the conclusion was it is the very last card that you play. You play that card, but only at the very end.
If you're chosen to meet the Tickler one-on-one.
Exactly. If the Tickler picks you out,
yes,
you sit through a couple of questions and then you say, before you kill me, just want to tell you something.
Just need to tell you something. This might change how you
feel.
But
in the meantime, you keep that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
as hidden as possible.
If she mentions it, she's secured her safety at this point.
Right, her life for now.
She will be taken directly back to the Red Keep.
If they believe her.
Yes, right, if they believe her. And there's no saying that they would. There's no reason to believe that this random girl.
Right.
But it might cause them to hold up, at least, for a little bit.
But I wonder if there is enough suspicion. I mean, there were gold cloaks sent north to find her.
Yes.
No, there weren't. They were sent to find Gendry, right?
No, that's you're
mixing TV and book.
We were just having a conversation before we started.
So they were looking for her. So the word of that should have spread through Tywin's army that they are looking for, that Arya Stark is in the wind. So here, at least someone who hears it when she says, "I'm Arya Stark," would be, weirdly, she is missing.
Yes.
So maybe.
Well, so you're kind of right though, because the gold cloaks that they ran into were looking for Gendry, but we know that Tyrion has, just last chapter, had a thought of hopefully Jacelyn Bywater finds Arya before the Starks discover we don't have her.
But that's in King's Landing.
He could still be looking in King's Landing.
That's where Jacelyn Bywater, because he's had the gold cloaks. They're not.
So they are looking for Arya, but maybe not the gold cloaks that they've already run into.
It's the kind of garbage we would edit out. If we...
Well, it's in.
So, where are we now? There's an older villager who longs for the time of Aerys Targaryen. And we talked about this in the very last chapter, that Illyrio Malpatis talked about the fact that the small folk longed for the return of the Targaryens. And we thought he was blowing smoke at the time, but that's 2 chapters in a row where we've been reminded of the fact it might be true.
Right.
At least partially true.
Yeah. Yeah, the poor old villager, the description is so... one of the guards, one of the soldiers over here, he says something about Aerys Targaryen too loud, and the soldier comes over and hits him, and the description says he lost both his teeth. Oh, man. Yes, the last chapter when we were talking about it was because the Begging Brothers had... Cersei had them arrested for talking about things such as... the Lannisters being punished because they killed the rightful king.
But he's talking to a lady who offers an alternative sentiment. She spits 3 times for the Lannisters, the Tullys, and the Starks.
Yes.
Not the Targaryens. I think she's sewing a dragon into her socks. Just so you know.
I was thinking, probably it could be split 50-50 there. You get 2 different versions, but, it's very possible they just don't care.
I think she didn't care, that's for sure.
All right.
Yeah. The same lady or a different lady says that Beric did them no harm. We've mentioned that, which is drastically different from what the Lannisters were doing, no matter what Gregor may claim.
Right.
You see, it seems weird to launch a PR campaign to these people,
right.
Really.
As they leave a string of dead bodies behind them. Some of the things that they describe doing in this chapter, I mean, just horrible. I don't even want to go into it, but the fact that those who have met Beric and now are meeting the Mountain, the fact that Beric didn't treat them like this in some way leaves an impression on them.
Yes.
That
Yes.
they would
Hearts
rally.
and minds.
Yes, right. They would, secretly, obviously, at this point, rally behind Beric if given a choice here.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
So Arya's canticle of the names that she wants revenge on, but I mean, I don't see what she wants other than maybe to give herself a sense of purpose and drive. I think that's the only thing it could be.
Because I think because of how unstructured this environment is, no one knows what the right thing to do is, because everything that they try to do hasn't worked.
Right.
I think it's really hard to find a sense of meaning and purpose in this environment of just random execution and torture.
Just not sure it's healthy for a young child to be making a list of hated enemies.
I agree. Yeah. It feels like a prayer. I mean, she says that it feels like a prayer to her, that there's no gods on this march, and so this is basically a prayer to herself, I guess. It more felt like a ritual.
Yeah.
Like a mantra to focus on, to keep saying, focus on this list of people that you hate. That's one thing they can't take away from you, is this list of people that you hate. Right. It's your personal thing.
And the TV show, you mentioned this to me before, the TV show sort of foreshadowed this when Yoren talked to her about his desire for revenge against the guy who killed his brother.
Yes.
And this sort of like, in the TV show, she latched onto that, and that became the germ of this list.
Right.
But here, she's just come up with it by herself.
When I read this part in the chapter, I thought, oh yeah, she got that from Yoren. And so I went digging, and I went through all of the chapters leading up to this, could not find it. And I was like, I know it's said somewhere. I know it. Then I remembered, oh yeah, that was a comparison to the TV show.
Yeah, sorry.
It
trips us up all the time. So they arrive at Harrenhal. It's so vast that they can see it on the horizon for 2 days of marching before they actually reach it.
And it reminded me of the resorts in Vegas, because those resorts are so large that, like you're in the Mirage and you think, oh, I'm just going to walk down to the Bellagio and watch the water show. And you're walking and you're walking and you're walking and you're like, I haven't even made it past Caesars yet. It's because they're so enormous. They look like they're just right there. And they're not. They're much further away than you think.
That's so similar. I'm glad you brought that up. So the gatehouse of Harrenhal is as large as Winterfell's Great Keep. The smallest tower is 1.5 times as tall as any of Winterfell. But they are all grotesque and mishappen from the Dragonfire. And actually, just to mention the TV show at this point, I thought they did a really good job in the TV show of showing this, because they made it look really scary, like sort of like ghosts would live here.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't remember it, because I remember the scenes inside Harrenhal, but I didn't remember the sort of vista.
Okay, right.
It was only kind of brief. But what actually happens is Hot Pie, Gendry, and Arya sort of take a moment out and look at the place and start talking. They have a conversation about ghosts and things like that.
Right.
And all the while they're looking at this amazing backdrop of Harrenhal, and it looks very good.
All right, special effects, well done.
They did well.
Yeah. Now, so the prisoners are kind of almost looking forward to getting to Harrenhal, because it's their final destination anyway.
When you're on a death march,
right.
You really want to get there.
Want to get on with it eventually. But Arya, of course, is not so thrilled with the prospect, because she recalls stories from Old Nan. Where...
Go somewhere miserable, there'll be an Old Nan story.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, right. John was thinking about it recently. Yeah, she thinks about an Old Nan story where Old Nan said that the mortar used to build Harrenhal was mixed with human blood, and of course that the dragons burned the whole place down. Now this is not the first time we've heard reference to dragons burning down Harrenhal, but to my understanding, it was only Aegon and Balerion that
Okay.
actually burnt down, or it's still up, but set fire to Harrenhal. I guess I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was just
No, I
Balerion.
believe you're correct. I think to the small folk of Winterfell, of Westeros, it was dragons.
Dragons, yeah.
Yes.
One, many, it doesn't
It doesn't matter. Yes.
Right.
Dragons did this. Yeah. The kitchens would have been a good place for Arya, but she
Yeah.
talks herself out of it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the one of the good wives, I think they're called.
Yes.
Mentions that it's warm and there's plenty of food, and it was, would have been a really nice place for her, but she can't hold her tongue.
Yeah.
So instead she's off to meet Wheeze, and this is when she brings up her new name, Weasel, and we've got a new name for Arya. She's got quite the growing list. We've now
Yes.
got Arya Horseface, Arya Underfoot, Airy, Lumpy Head, Lumpy Face, and now Weasel. So I hope Weasel's okay. The original Weasel, yeah,
yes.
She's a little girl.
Yes, I hope both
off by herself.
We're rooting for both Weasels here, but not Wheeze.
Right. When the Goodwives decided to send her Arya to Wheeze, it sounded like it was being done as punishment.
Yeah, she opened her mouth when she shouldn't, and they said, "Okay, let's send you to Wheeze."
Yes. She said, "The kitchens are snug, clean, warm, fire, plenty of food. I can see you're not a clever girl. I believe we should give this one to Wheeze." So that doesn't seem like they're rewarding her. Like, this one's clever. Let's give her to Wheeze.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it was said.
No. And Wheeze promises that he can smell defiance, pride, and disobedience, so he's going to smell Arya a mile off.
That's pretty much.
Those are her traits. Although I think this chapter might have taken some of them out of her.
Possibly.
At least
yes.
temporarily.
Yes, for the moment. But those are things you might describe Arya with.
Very much so, yes.
He says what he wants to smell, though, is fear. And so it sounds like that's his management style.
Yeah.
Not,
Rather like my own.
Right.
I'm a holy terror.
So that doesn't sound great for her.
All right, have you got some background for us?
Sure.
Yeah, Mackelly just does the background. That's how we work. That's how we roll.
You do comparison with the TV show?
Yeah, but that's kind of lazy stuff. That's just watching TV.
I like doing the historian stuff. I enjoy it.
Good.
And so we've mentioned this before, I think, on a show or one place or another. Oh, I think we were talking about it on the Discord server, actually. I try to steer clear of the TV show because it mixes him up all the time.
All the time.
And so if I just don't pay any attention to the TV show at all, I can try to be like straight on the book.
But now there's like second degree infiltration of the TV show because you hear me talk about it.
True.
And
yes,
now you get confused.
It has. Yes. Yorin and his brother.
Doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
One.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's some background for you. And you're going to see how much I read of this.
You're going to see Simon drink water and read ahead.
So we've talked about Hair in the Black, building Harrenhal and believing that it was impenetrable, only to learn that dragons can fly very high.
I feel like he should have known that before he built it.
If he knew there were dragons coming, he might not have made such a statement.
You know what he could have done? He could have built it deep.
Yeah.
It would have been much more
Right.
dragon-proof.
Yeah, that's a good point. But we've also talked about the burning of Harrenhal by Aegon the Conqueror, and I believe just Balerion, but whatever. Could be wrong.
We believe you, not the citizens of Westeros.
So what happened after Balerion's flames finally died out? Have you ever wondered that?
The rocks cooled?
They did eventually,
Okay.
yes. Well, King Harrenhal and all of his sons were killed in the attack with Balerion, which we learned in this chapter. So Aegon needed someone else to call Harrenhal home.
It's always been passed around this place.
It is more than most other places, that's for sure. So he turned his eyes to Sir Quentin Coharius, his master-at-arms at Dragonstone. He is also believed to have been of Valerian descent.
He sounds like it.
Yes, he does. Things were looking good for a long successful run for House Coharius. Quentyn had 2 strong sons, and one of them had given him a strapping young grandson. He'd even taken the daughter of his liege lord Edmund Tully as a second wife after his first wife died. But things didn't work out quite so well as he might have thought. A few years after taking Harrenhal as his seat, Quentyn died when he fell from his horse. And apparently his sons must have met an early death as well, because that strapping grandson became his successor as Lord of Harrenhal. The boy was named Gargon, and he grew into a rather fat man considered foolish by most. He got the nickname Gargon the Guest because he made a habit of going to weddings of small folk within his domain and taking advantage of a rule of first night. Now, that rule allows the lord or king the privilege of bedding a new bride on her wedding night. He also frequently bedded the wives and daughters of those who worked for him in his castle.
Haven't we talked about the rule of first night earlier?
I think we
like
may have
a long
mentioned
time ago,
it,
and we
yeah.
actually we researched it, and apparently it's sort of a myth. It didn't, at least on planet Earth, it didn't happen as much as people think it did.
Okay, yeah.
That's my recollection, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, so that whole bedding the daughters and wives of the people who worked for him, that kind of bit him eventually, because he met a rather unpleasant demise when an outlaw named Harren the Red was let into Harrenhal by the father of a woman Gargon deflowered. Harren had Gargon's genitalia cut off and fed to a dog, and eventually Gargon bled to death.
Shagger would approve.
Yes, he would, except for he'd prefer a goat,
right.
I guess. But as he was the last official member of House Coharies, although based on his proclivities, I doubt he's the last of that bloodline.
True.
It brought an end to the house. And House Coharies' sigil, by the way, is a rather unusual one. It's basically like a flaming X, and then a skull in each of the four quadrants that the X makes on a black background.
Nice. You know what I've discovered? And I've only discovered it because we're videoing this, that I mouth along while you're reading that.
Never known.
I didn't know either. But I was like, oh God, they can see me. Comparative with television show, basically this does all happen, but it's relocated. The show jumps straight to Harrenhal, but we do meet the Tickler there, so none of the torturing and horror happens before they get to Harrenhal. It happens when they get to Harrenhal. The list of questioning, the torturing, the murdering, and Arya. You see Arya sleeping in a cell, listing the names.
Oh, okay.
So she is doing that. There is no assigning them to jobs at this point. There is just torturing and being killed. They've been taken to Harrenhal for no reason whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay.
So not to put them to work because they have a lot of
which is
need for small folk.
So for instance, the very next scene, which I won't talk about because it's a slight spoiler for what's coming for Arya, but somebody more senior intervenes in what's going on and says, what's your job? And he points to Gendry, and Gendry says, I'm a blacksmith. And he's like, why are we not putting this guy to work? You know,
Right.
They've all just been brought there and they're doing nothing with them. So this is kind of like my pedantry now, which sort of segueing into my pedantry.
Right, yes.
Why kill the fighting age men?
Yeah.
It's crazy. They're not fighting you.
Right.
And if you conscript them into your army, you've grown your army.
That makes perfect sense, yes. Well, I do not know. They certainly could use more fighting men, of
They
course.
have a big army
Yeah.
already. It's one more mouth to feed, but better that mouth to feed than the old guy with now no teeth.
Right.
You have to chew up his food for him.
Baby bird style. Yeah, I think I'm going to go check to make sure that's still recorded.
Okay.
Just real quick time out.
Stay with us. So one of the things we do is we drink water because we get sort of like
Yes.
slightly thirsty.
Yes, it's still recording.
And I put it down on the floor so it doesn't clunk on the table, and that comes through, you see.
Yes.
And this is the kind of thing we would edit out normally.
It would, definitely we would. Luckily the door hasn't opened yet.
That's true. You got some news and notes?
Yeah, a few things. So, first of all, now this episode will air after July 12th, but we're recording before July 12th. But July 12th...
We haven't found a way to publish before we record.
Yes. July 12th is the 10-year anniversary of the publication of A Dance with Dragons. So it's now been 10 years since the last.
That's the last book. I don't remember what the books are called, but that's the last one. My God.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? 10 years.
Wow. Oh, you know what's coincidental? Actually, I've been. We work together.
Yeah, I do.
This is my 10-year anniversary. Like in about a week.
Oh yeah. All right. I had to strong arm him into coming to work.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did. I'm grateful. Still am.
Good. Glad that worked out.
Yeah.
Worked out for me. I've enjoyed having you around for the past decade. So in other news, George Martin, I kind of hate to bring this up after saying it's been 10 years since his last
Here's
book.
an example of what he's been up to, yes?
So George Martin and his wife Paris were rubbing elbows with some famous mutants while attending a swanky gala known as the Hellfire Gala put on by Marvel Comics. Now, I'm just joking. This isn't a real-life gala. Martin's not putting Winds of Winter writing on hold again to attend this fancy soiree.
Not to attend this fancy soiree.
Right. Yeah, probably for something else.
Something else, yeah.
Certainly. So the Hellfire Gala is actually a fictional event spanning several Marvel comics throughout June of 2021. Other celebrities attendees include Conan O'Brien, Patton Oswalt, and Eminem. The celebrities have been drawn into the scenes of the gala, along with some of those from the Marvel comic universe. And Martin appears in the Marauders series issue 21. And the gala was, the concept of it was used to announce a new crop of X-Men.
Cool.
So
I don't know anything about X-Men, but that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
So you wanted to churn out some statistics, I believe.
Well, at our 50th episode,
Okay.
we gave you, we dropped a few digits.
I remembered
we
that.
gave you a few numbers. So I thought, being that this is our 100th episode, I would update those numbers.
Okay.
So at our 50th episode, we had listeners in 78 countries in 820 cities. And at the time, Chicago was the tops in the world as far as listeners go, followed by Dallas, and internationally, Islington?
Islington, yeah.
Islington, England.
It's London. It's part of London.
Okay. So basically London, followed by Stockholm and Forest Hills, Michigan. Rounded out the top 5. I didn't go...
It's not that international from here. It is to everybody else. But...
I realized, yes, that... anyway, I did not do a top 5 this time. But for our 100th episode, we now have listeners in 116 countries and 2,448 cities.
That's pretty sweet.
Yes. And Dallas, Texas is tops in the world.
Thank you, Dallas, Texas.
Thank you, Dallas, Texas. Followed by Columbus, Ohio.
Huh?
And top international, Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Followed by London again.
Okay, the Islington again, yeah.
Yeah.
So the same little coterie in Islington. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's really good. I didn't realize that's way more than I thought. That's awesome.
Thank you all for that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just go out of order here.
Yes.
So while we're talking about that, I just wanted to thank you all for coming on this journey with us. We've had a great time doing it, and all the positive feedback we get from you all just makes it a lot of fun and keeps us going. So thanks a million.
Absolutely. Every time we hear from one of you, it really does mean probably more than you think it means. Yeah.
Every time someone paints a picture.
Yeah, did you notice? That wasn't an accident. Yes. I mean, just when you reach out, it means a lot. And we greatly appreciate, we know there's a lot of podcasts and a lot of listening choices. And the fact that you take your time to listen to us.
To these bungling amateurs. Although I've got to say, actually, we're pretty close to the end here.
Yes.
We have not, apart from when you got up and walked over there, we have not messed this up one
Well,
time.
my fear was that I get over there and it had stopped recording, like the battery died or
something. On that subject, let's get this.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up. So, the march to Harrenhal, the total sense of helplessness, the random pointless torture. Kids are resilient.
They are, but I mean, this is some pretty severe trauma.
Yeah.
This alone is something that could change who she is forever. I mean, you just add to it the loss of her family, security, food, shelter, everything that she's suffered up to this point. I mean, Tough situation. Very tough.
Well, at least she has reached the comparative safety of Harrenhal. Well, assuming the ghosts aren't the worst thing to be worried about. Probably the only silver lining of this chapter. She is resourceful and smart. She probably will navigate being a captive servant better than Sansa.
Yes.
Always compare those two.
Good point. Yeah, although the final line from Wheeze of "all I want to smell is fear" doesn't bode well for how she's going to be treated anyway.
Like all bullies, he's just afraid himself.
Yeah, that's right. Could just be all talk.
Yeah.
Punch him in the nose and
he'll
run away
crying.
That's right. How do you think his nose got that way?
And yeah, as you've pointed out, the Lannisters actually have Arya in their clutches.
They just don't know it.
No, right.
And hopefully they don't kill her before they figure it out.
Yes. But again, I think she still maintains that one last card that she can play at the time of most dire need.
That's true.
I'm Arya Stark.
Yes.
Don't kill me.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I was thinking, save yourself from them accidentally killing you, not knowing who you are. But you're right. If they go to do that, that's when you play that card. Yeah.
I mean,
good point.
Random death can come up on you pretty quickly, I think, in the presence of Gregor Clegane and
yes.
co.
Yes. And you're right. They might not even believe her. Might just think, oh yeah, you're Arya Stark. Okay, whatever. But it's a rough situation
for sure.
And I think it's Arya's journey. The point of her journey is to show how the people are being affected by
this
war.
The reason that they've put her where they have in this in the theater of war is to give us an opportunity to see the horrors of war.
Yeah, because everyone else is
remote from it.
Right. Yeah, more or less.
So, as always, you can reach us at ghost.harrenhal@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @GhostHarrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord.
That's right. And if you wouldn't mind going out and leaving us a 5-star rate or a fantastic review, we certainly would appreciate that. The best ways to do that are Apple Podcasts or podchaser.com, but really anywhere you can leave a review, we would absolutely love it.
We'll for sure read it out.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.